Hey, Dale here from the Time Machine, going to talk about rare Indian racing motorcycles today. Of course, back in the early day of American racing, board tracking and dirt tracking was all the rage. The really major manufacturers were leading the field of competition. The Indian motorcycles certainly until 1914. Harley-Davidson actually didn't have a racing department until late 14. But the Indian motorcycle was the king of the motordromes and the dirt tracks around America, and a couple extremely rare examples we have here today. This is a 1911 Indian board track racer in completely original condition. We're going to fire this bike up in a couple minutes. I think you'll really enjoy the show, but the machine itself, just the most outstanding motorcycle in original paint, original seat. Actually, the only thing that's ever been changed is the tires on this machine. Original old grips and bars, front suspension, of course, the beautiful Indian gas tank pedal start. Cool thing about this bike is you can actually drive this motorcycle. It does have brakes and a clutch, and truly a rare machine. You know, it's really cool when bikes come in pairs, and to find a pair of Indian motorcycles, racing motorcycles like this pair is truly extraordinary. A set of side-by-side Indian racing bikes, the 500 single-cylinder racing bike, and the extremely rare 1914 twin-cylinder. Interesting to note, in late 1914, Indian really pulled out of the racing game until around 1917, so there was a couple-year hiatus where Indian didn't go racing anymore. But just prior to that, they built just a handful of special semi-road machines in racing trim. In 1915, it was called the Model D1. This motorcycle is actually not a 15 D1, but a very special 1914 twin-cylinder. It's got a clutch, it's got brakes, you can ride it. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this machine a little bit. I'm going to start it up for you too. Oops, excuse me, I was just tickling the carburetor. One of the very few things you have to do to actually start this motorcycle. Little turn the gas on, little gas to the carburetor, pull the decompressor back. Really a pretty simple matter, giving it one or two pumps on the pedals. This thing ought to roar to life. It shoots a lot of flames and fire, go 85 miles an hour. I could talk about this for hours, but I'm just going to start it up right now. You know, if you think you can't ride or race one of these motorcycles, you're wrong, because if you belong to the Antique Motorcycle Club of America, go to the Wauseon, Ohio, Davenport, Iowa. You can race these old bikes on a half-mile track. Pretty exciting to see a dozen rare machines of early years, very valuable machines, just getting it on the track. These guys have more fun than a barrel of monkeys. 1911 Indian. You know, I've really never seen an Indian racing motorcycle, especially nearly a 100-year-old bike, in the condition of that 1911. This 1914, a little different story to tell. It's not original paint, but I believe it was painted back in the 30s. Story has it this machine was personally owned and ridden and raced for over 30 years. The fellow who wrote it, don't know his name, but he left some interesting trademarks on his motorcycle, made an extremely personalized bike. Of a few of the things I especially like about the machine, the scissor shock on the front, the very intricate little steering dampener, very unique seat tee, a hand cranking device that I've never seen on an Indian before. But the coolest thing on the left handlebar is where this cat kept his hand in racing position for God knows how many laps or where. A true testament to the reality of this machine. Original seat, original everything. The patina on the motor is extremely, just incredible condition. Nickel plating's beautiful. It has some really wild exhaust pipes on the right side. We're going to crank this bike up directly, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. You know, this bike is a little bit more difficult to start. The 500cc single, you can kind of pop it over with the pedals. This is a 1000cc motorcycle, a lot more power, and we've got an interesting starting technique. We use the old 1936 Harley. This is my son Matt. He's going to crank up the 36 Harley, and my buddy Calvin's going to jump in and hold this thing down while I'm sitting on it, and you're going to figure it out as soon as you see it happen. Now, if that ain't the coolest dang thing I've ever seen, it's just incredible how these people race these bikes on the board tracks and dirt tracks around America. 1914 Indian factory-built racing bike. It runs extraordinary. The bike is actually in like-new condition. Whoever took care of this bike for all these years, God bless him, because it's here for you to enjoy right now at the Time Machine.